Hello.
Hello, this is Richie. I'm Grant.
Hello, Richie and Grant.
It's early in the morning where we are.
That's why I got a coffee in my hand.
In a secret location. This is our second coffee each, in fact. It's very unrock and roll.
I'm going for a third, actually. It's fun.
Without any doubt.
But then, if that happens, then you'll be really chatting off your heart. So you'll be like...
They say I can talk about these things like with marbles in my mouth.
Really?
Yeah.
I same to my daughter. She came out, she went underneath the water in the bath once and came up and goes, "Oh, Daddy, I can talk underwater." I thought, fuck, here we go.
I'm very quiet sometimes. I do the opposite. So anyway, caffeinated. We're going to talk about albums that shaped us, like individually. Being two guitar, twin prong attack. My history of that leading into doing the Screaming Jets. Screaming Jets was a two guitar band, and in Australia we had I couldn't believe, I don't think I'd fight to see a better guitar combo than Martin Rotzi and Jim Magini from Midnight Oil. They
are probably see 1098 was like that was child stuff for me, going, oh, listen to this, and listen to those two guitars smash it out. It was something, it was kind of alien. It was like, oh my god,
they
this happened.
Frankie Wawa, who was our first drummer in school, and one of my best mates that we still walk every day. He's playing in a band called Powderworks doing oils, and so I've been in the car. Really? Yeah, I've been in the car with him. Like, we go for walks most days, and playing all the old stuff like Place of the Pace, Postcard, Bird Noises, all the EPs and stuff, like Armistice Day and Lucky Country, and it's just the guitars are just outrageous.
Outrageous.
Yeah, and so it was funny because, like you, when I was in high school, 10 to 1 came out, and that they used to play an album at lunchtime at my school. It's the old Hamilton Morris Brothers. It was all boys, but the guys, the older boys, they knew all the albums. They had all the albums.
Oh yeah,
and they used to play through the school PA, and that took over our lives, that record.
It did. It took over a lot of people's lives.
But it was funny. It was a bit like, for Australians, they went from that to Red Sails and Sunset, and I think to Diesel and Dust. And the world got Diesel and Dust, like the world got In Excess Kick. And Australians were like, hang on, this is not their best record.
No, exactly.
Yeah, back. So, talking about guitar players, I got a lot out of both those guitar players because Martin plays the Strat mostly. Jim plays the Black Les Paul guys. They played for Voxes and Marshalls. And I sound a lot like both of them. And I never realised that. And there's a couple of other Australian bands that I never realised how much we got out of that until I hear back, 30 years later what we did. And the other one was, it was like a badge of honour to be an Australian guitar player. And it was all downstrokes. And Mick Cox from Rose Tattoo was the guy. It was like...
Oh, yeah.
It's all down.
I used to hate that, though.
I didn't understand that I didn't want to copy or emulate it, but it just sunk into my DNA.
Yeah, it kind of did.
And when you hear that, then you understand the Angels. It's just...
Yeah, absolutely.
But I think Mick Cox, God rest his soul, was responsible for a lot of that. And I remember other guitar players going, oh, that right hand's got to be all down. It's all downstrokes. There's none of this...
No,
right.
That's right.
So when you listen to a lot of the Rose Tat stuff, it's like that. And that's like, I think, I don't know, a lot of these threads come from, rock and roll come out of a blues thing, obviously. But in Australian pubs, it was like, people are full of speed, they're full of rum, they're rock harder. And that's how we were brought up. You had to just be that energized. And so any of that boogie or stuff or rock and roll actually had to become a next step, which I guess is how rock started. It was just has to energy, be. Right? So, but, looking at...
Because we were talking about it before, but, like Al Collins.
Yeah.
That sort of blues stuff. I mean, that's the stuff that's what we were listening to. But you'd have to...
Yeah, because Albert Collins became... He was playing to more people. People wanted more energy. And so his blues just went a whole nother level.
That's right.
Yeah.
It just you have to hurt people, kind of like.
It was get on stage and kill people. That was the issue.
It was so much like that.
It was like the amount of times you walk on stage and your roadies would go, they'd hand you a guitar and they go, "I'll see you on the battlefield."
Yeah.
That's what it's like. And you get in this zone and you're just completely in that zone. And it's funny, I'm going to go back to the Rolling Stones in a minute. That's where I'm going for this album that shaped my thing. But it's really important to see that the Rolling Stones shaped a lot of Australian bands without them maybe even knowing it. And one of the things that I really dislike in our society is that they don't teach this to music students at school. And I think they absolutely should. Just having a quick look at double guitar bands in Australia, obviously you start with AC/DC.
Yeah.
That was strictly one guy plays the solos, one plays the rhythm. But we never came from that. We came from more a Stones version of it. But through Australian bands, it was the oils it was that intertwining thing that Keith Richards talks about. But then, you had your Pete Wells and your Mick Cox, and they did completely separate things that together really worked.
That's right.
You know, and then the Bruce Brothers, they were solo rhythm. But we never did that. It was like we were like this. And I think a lot of my stuff come from the Rolling Stones. I want to talk about Exile on Main Street. That's an album that encapsulates a lot of my playing. And a lot of the stuff, you had all the older black guys come out and they thanked the Stones for putting them on the map because they listened to those records, they played their records exclusively and they shaped their sound. So getting into Exile was like, for me, I got a lot of major keys. And it's funny, because we'll definitely pull apart AC/DC records, because I know they both knocked us over when we were kids. A lot of their stuff's in major keys and major chords and major things, which you used to think, it's got to be minor pentatonic rock, and they're not. The Stones, for me, that this album had Mick Taylor, and I've got to say I'm a Ronnie Wood freak. I just love Ronnie and Keith. Like this first time I saw them together on Countdown or something, it was like, I want to do that.
Yeah,
I want to do that. So Ronnie and Keith, they're magic. But the Mick Taylor, you hear the nuances in what he was playing. He came from somewhere real deep, and he's on that record. So the things I got off that record were the most prominence on that record was Tumble and Dice. And for people that don't know the album, they'd probably know that song. If you're not a Stones real fan, you'd probably go, this album's, where's the hit? But it's not that sort of album. It's a slow burn. It's a real slow burn. And when I got into playing really hard blues about 15 years ago, because, I learned classical and blues. That's how I learned to play. So it's a nice fusion. I realised that in an audience, it wasn't that, bang, let's come out of the blocks with energy. It was, you've got to get this slow groove like a groundswell, or you don't have the crowd. And when you got them, you got them. They're just in trance. Yeah. And that's somehow, I don't know, that's the magic of this sort of stuff. So it's funny, like, I'll have to learn this up. I blow it, don't worry about it. But Tumble and Dice, it's all majors, right?
There you go.
And that's the whole bit. So, and from that, I play this all the time. If you got the G.
Stones,
yeah. So it's all over. It's Stones all over, and the funny thing is, right, when you learn guitar, you're like, I'll put it back to A, right? So just got an A, and we all learn that. Our kids, I always play an A like that, but not like that, like that, because then you can bar. But I guess I don't know where Keith got it from, but everyone's got it from him.
Who knows where Keith got anything from?
Yeah. So instead of that, you got that finger there.
Back in BC.
Yeah, 100%. He put that in, so. And and I mean, how many songs come off that? Like,
Jump in my car.
it's over everything. So thank you, Keith, for that. And the same thing with what was it? It's all that same. It's the same thing. Then we went to that one, which was cool. But anyway, I got a lot. I just got so much out of that major thing. I thought, because when you learn, like you go, you know, here's A minor pentatonic. You know, and that's how you kind of learn guitar.
It's very boppy and easy to dance to, as one would say, you know.
It comes out of that boogie, I think.
Yeah, it's very boogie, it's danceable.
But when you go major on that, that's more Albert Collins.
Yeah. That's pretty tricky for Albert.
And then I think that the fusion there is you get some country and some blues mixing over. So I try and go, I really like to go into major things when I'm playing that sort of stuff. So on Jet stuff, where that sort of came out, that I can hear it, I hear like on Tear of Thought, we got the, I just hear, that's to me where that's it's very major, it's very A major. Better's in A major.
That's right.
So there's a lot more majors. Come on's in. It's all major. If I just quickly digress and go back to like the Rose Tattoos, and you're gonna understand. I spent a lot of time with Angry. Angry's a really good mate of mine. His stories like, geez, stop it. His stories are just intense. There's so many. He knows Billy Gibbon. He knows ZZ Top. They tour with ZZ Top. So, you know, the ZZ Top, very similar to like the early Stones in a way, but because they were Texas, they had a bit more mongrel because it was Texas. You know, when we were in Texas, like, man, you don't rock, you're gonna get bottles thrown at you. It was sort of like Newcastle,
yeah, pretty much,
Texas, yeah. And I'll never forget this night we were in. I think we're in Houston or Austin, and Dave said, "Hello, Austin," and we're in Houston.
Oh yeah.
Whoa! It was whoa.
Yeah.
It kind of got ugly there for a minute.
Only for a minute. We got him back though.
That was funny. But they got what we played because they sort of got that Aussie mongrel. It's funny, Angry, this is classic Angry Anderson quote. It's a classic. He goes, nobody attacks a guitar like an Australian. And it's kind of true. We just smashed it. I think both of us got the point where we're smashing the right hand so hard. We had to put heavier strings on. I think we were playing 12s to 56s or something at one point, right? Because you just knock them out of tune. Our old arms don't allow us to do that anymore.
No.
Much more finesse. So anyway, getting back to the first album, like even stuff like now that's just so ZZ Top. It's and then you hear the Australian, how it came into that. You hear Rosalie, you hear the Angels, you hear AC/DC in all of that. You really do.
Yeah.
And so some of our songs you can hear that in us, but I like the other part that we were song based. We were like, if it's a good song, we're in. So getting back to Exile Main Street, it was that album goes from like from Tumble and Dice, which most people know if you know the States again. So it's. I think about it's real high, and it's very early in the morning.
This reminds me of like Come Jump in My Car, but you know.
Well, all the same. I mean, Les Hall, who's another real good mate of mine from Ted Myra again. Keith Nutt, a lot of stuff open G tuning.
You can see where it comes from.
Keith did all that open
absolutely.
G
You can see
tuning.
where it comes from.
And so here's the other side of Exile. They got that major. It's sort of rock and roll. Tumble and Dice. It's not blues, it's not blues. It's sort of rock and roll blues. It's rock and roll. But then on that album, they got really hardcore boogie and really hardcore country. And the tale goes that Keith got it from Graham Parsons, who was a real country star. He was in the Burrito Brothers out of America. His wife, I think it was his wife, was actually Emmylou Harris, like who's the queen of one of the queens of country of all time. So I think apparently the word goes that Keith got a lot out of him too. And this is the other side. This is because I'm a folkster and I'm a blues guy as well, and I always have been. Oh, here we go down here, camera one. I've always written songs, so I always, as people that know me, I was just Neil Young mad. I was Cat Stevens mad, James Taylor mad, Bob Dylan mad.
Actually, songwriting coming out.
Yeah. Don McLean, I loved all that stuff. I absolutely loved all that stuff. But I was guitar playing in a rock band and playing the blues, so I had this massive fusion. But what I got out of the Exile on Main Street as well was, probably one of my favourite songs ever is Sweet Virginia. It goes sort of...
That's kids how you play country.
Yeah, and so I really dug that. And to me, I always, and we'll do Neil Young one day on what affected me, and when I see what he does, he's got electric that's just brutal, and he's got acoustic that's playing folk music, and I really get the two sides of it. It's funny when I saw him, he's got his old Blackies, his main Les Paul, it's probably a 58 or something, and his spare's a gold top, and I didn't know that his spare was a gold top, and I had my black and my gold top was my spare for years, so I was like, that's pretty cool, I can dig that. Here's a little tidbit on Neil Young. The guitar he played Harvest and all the hits on, the acoustic, was actually Hank Williams' guitar, Hank Williams, who was probably the father of country music in America and the original badass. Like, probably would have given Keith Richards a run for his money from all reports, in the 50s. So, all right, so that's from Exile Main Street, all that sort of stuff, and then that real country's.
It's influenced you to today. The way that you have been playing all this sort of stuff, it's like you've never changed.
No.
With the way you're doing it, I know that I could never keep up with that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Although something like the Stones and stuff, they were always there. Obviously, your dad's always had the albums and stuff that you had all the time. I know because as two guitar players, for me, I was always with that sort of dilemma of, well, how do I come into this whole thing if you're doing that? Because something like a Stones, if you look at them, how they run, Keith is pretty much right up there holding the tunes. The other boys are just back there, making the sort of the ground solid work, sitting there.
I always remember classic Keith Richards, and it was the same for the Alberts AC/DC camp on all their songs, and I think I heard Keith's out first because I read everything on Keith, as you do. He said the rhythm guitar is actually the lead guitar, because if you take everything else out of the band, you've got the singer and the rhythm guitar. That's the whole song. And again, we weren't just rhythm guitar, lead guitar players, just guitar players to play. And I think it was quite hard for some people to realise who plays the solos in this band. It's we kind of sort of both do. People that only knew Australian bands sort of saw a divide. Malcolm Angus, Rick, John, Mick, Pete. That was like this, but we didn't do that. We were more that sort of we intertwined like the Stones sort of say. But even and it's unreal. Okay, so JetsPlayJets singer Danny Young, whose dad's John Paul Young. You understand, John Paul Young's best mates were Malcolm Young, George Young, and Angus Young. They literally grew up together through the 70s at Alberts. George Young produced all the AC/DC records then. He produced all the John Paul Young stuff then. So there's this thread, and I know that what they used to do was whenever they had a song, even AC/DC, it was like, if you can't sit down at a piano or acoustic guitar and play the song and sell it to me, the song don't work.
That's very true.
So I always had that in me that had to drive it. I was sort of lucky too. My folks were into your James Taylors and your Don McLean, so I was picking up on that, and it was one of my cousins and that got me more into the dark side of that, the Neil Youngs and the Dylans and all. It was more the dark side of the James Taylors and the Don McLeans, because they were all real nice, going to a Catholic school too, you sort of heard a lot of those records. I don't know why. It was weird. It was just that folky stuff.
See, I was unlucky at one point, like when being younger, growing up with two older sisters who were into ABBA. But you know what? Listen to some of the ABBA songs.
They're great songs.
Now, as someone who really listened to obviously producing or songwriting or something like that, because you're always hearing, trying to find that little, that little riff or that little hook or something like that. Listening to some of those songs is just, oh my God, these guys are just, no wonder they became number one in the world. At one stage.
Well, it's a craft, and again, I struggle with this lack of passing it on. It's become almost ignorance to a lot of younger generations. I don't mean in a derogatory way. It's ignorant in the true sense of the word ignorant. It's that no one's teaching them the craft anymore. There's
something there, something else there.
Where's this craft? Like, we're going to get on the computer and just get this kick-ass, and it's just a loop in this computer. Anyway, it leaves me a bit cold. We don't want to go there. So, talking about big sisters, my big sister was into ABBA and all that, and my brother and I were, back in the 70s, you had a choice. You were into ABBA or you were into AC/DC.
Pretty much.
We were just over there. But what my sister did turn me on to was the Beatles. Someone bought her a Beatles record, and I to this day I still listen to that record. It's like the greatest hits of their ballads. It just that kicked my ass on a whole nother level, but that's a whole nother game. So the other song on Exile, and I'll close the show with this, is a song. It's this boogie thing, right? And it's that's just all John Lee Hooker, That's all John Lee Hooker. From 40s, 50s, easy. And so the Stones do a song on that called Hip Shake, and I actually do that in all my blues stuff. I do my own version of it. But it was by a guy called Slim Harpo, who was another old lost black blues legend. I don't think he ever got his acclaim like your B.B. Kings did, and your Albert Collins, your Albert Kings, your Howlin' Wolves, your Muddy Waters, your Chuck Berrys. I don't think he ever got that acclaim. He didn't get that Robert Johnson acclaim. Or Songhouse or Lead Belly acclaim. He was just sort of, to me, he sort of didn't get his just, rewards. So this is Slim Harpo's song on Exile. It's called Hip Shake. And they sort of go, I won't tell you about dance that's going around. Now the whole song stays on that, what John Lee Hooker. So the people aren't into it that can't understand that groove, they're like, and next? What happens next? Nothing happens next. That's what that stuff does. It's just in a trance. You're just in a boogie. Now I'll show you where this goes. This Now speaking of sisters, my sister got me into Queen. And that changed my life. I mean, Brian May just stopped.
When you heard Brian May, when I heard Brian May the first time, I think I was 6 or something.
Yeah.
What's that?
It's to this day, I just don't know how. He's in a league of his own. Yeah, there's great guitar players that are just as good, and there's no doubt about it, but he's like, I think you've got your Stevies, you've got your Hendrix, you've got these people. Surely he's got to be up there. No one would ever play as unorthodox and as original as that and be so poignant and so bang on and so consistent. Right. So anyway, then I think of can't say Queen did none of this stuff. I mean,
That could be Queen.
they're in the producing. They're around the producing age in the 60s. I mean, they had that.
We used to cover that. We used to love covering
That's
that
right.
in our junior days.
That's right. So tie your
Junior
mother.
days. I love the junior days.
Oh, a long time ago. So tie your mother down's. That's Queen, but it comes from. It's the same thing. It's just louder, right? But then you got your ZZ Tops pull that apart, you know. It's all John Lee Hooker. Listen to that back skank. That's all that. And then of course Stevie Ray just tore the arse out of that. He just took that a whole nother level that no one can really do. He's doing it. Stevie Ray. Yeah, that was all his bad. Same thing. So that first time I ever heard Stevie Ray Vaughan, I just stopped in my tracks.
Yeah.
I just went, what the hell is this? This is just, I just got it. And it can get that thread. And I think in a roundabout way where we got to with our first two records, you'll hear a lot of that somehow, somewhere in it. And that is the beauty of my friends' music that came from cotton field slaves, men on chain, black men slaves on chain gangs.
Jesus.
And they got these rhythms and grooves to work to a tempo. And the tempos just got faster and faster. And we have I think everything in our music to go back to that source and the suffering and the pain and the passion that has now got to where we are. And I think the Stones in a contemporary way in recent 40 years are the ones that tied all that up in a bow and went, there's a lesson for all you kids.
And thank God, because then it produced someone like you
Thank you.
to do that. It's a great album review, that one. I like that one.
Thank you, Richie.
That's very good.
Sea Troopers.
Okay.